Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here. We're going to give just a couple of minutes for everyone to finish joining. So while you're settling in, I'm going to be letting people into from the lobby. Okay. I've just dropped a poll into the chat. It's going to ask, is your business currently using AI? Go ahead and cast your vote. All right. Well, looks like most of you are already using AI. That is good to hear. Awesome. Well, it looks like most of you are getting familiar with AI in your business. So this session is perfect for you. Just letting in a few more people. I'm going to give them a couple more minutes. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to take a moment to introduce today's presenter, Cameron Morris. He's an account manager here at Macatawa Technologies, so some of you may recognize. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining here today. Bear with me. I'm just making sure that our slides work correctly for me. So I got that part all set up for you. But yeah, thank you everyone for being here. My name's Cameron Morris. A lot of you may know me as your account manager. And my goal today is kind of talk about AI in a way that's practical, grounded, and actually useful for business leaders. There's a lot of noise, around AI right now. And depending on who you're listening to, it's either going to solve every problem in your business or it's going to destroy everything. So most of us know that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and my goal today is to kind of clear away some of that noise. I don't want it to make it overly technical. My goal is to help you understand what AI actually is and where it's already showing up in business. So the other benefits I'd like to talk about is maybe things like where it can save your business time and also potentially some of the parts where we need to be more cautious. So by the end of this session, I want you to walk away feeling more confident about what AI means for you and your business and also what it doesn't mean and different things like where you could use it and kind of the different applications that it would be beneficial for you. So let's jump in. Here's our agenda. So this is kind of where we're headed for today. First, we're going to start with the basics on what AI actually is. Then we're going to walk through the AI spectrum because AI isn't just one thing. There's different levels and categories, and it helps a lot when you can separate those in your mind. And after that, we will talk about some AI tools. Some are tools that you've probably already heard of. Some actually maybe even included in software that you're paying for today and things that we use for our everyday life. Then I want to talk about a couple of business examples. And so I think this is where the conversation can get a lot more helpful because we're going to be able to see how it applies to you and your business. And then it's one thing to like talk about it in theory, but the other thing is to say is like, here's what it looks like in an actual business mindset and how it would look if we were to implement it. So from there, we'll also talk about where AI saves time, where it creates risk, and how to think through the types of tasks that are a good fit for AI versus what really still needs that human touch when it's being involved. So from there, we'll ramp up with key takeaways and what's coming into the next two webinars. I'm really excited to touch base on those. And then we're going to have some time for Q&A at the end as well. So let's kind of start with the big question. Why talk about AI? Why are we even talking about it right now? Why is it the big thing that we can hear everywhere on social media, news, any outlet? And the simple answer is like, I want to talk about it today because your competitors, your vendors, and your customers are already using it. This isn't really some distant future conversation anymore. It's not a maybe someday topic. It's already here and it's already influencing how businesses operate. While we were looking through this, I was looking up some cool statistics regarding AI and just adoption as a whole. And I found it really interesting. McKinsey reported in 2025 that 72% of organizations had adopted AI in at least one business function. And that's up from 55% from the year before. That's a huge jump in a really short amount of time. And I think this is a key statistic and it matters because once adoption starts moving like that, it usually doesn't reverse, it'll snowball. The other important point here is that AI itself is not new. What is new is how accessible it's become. For years, a lot of AI capabilities were only available to large companies, data scientists, or engineering teams. Now, a lot of those same kinds of capabilities are being built into everyday business software, into your email platform, document tools, CRM, search tools, heck, even our meeting software, and for our workflow apps as well. So for many businesses, the real shift is not that AI has suddenly appeared. The shift is that it's now within reach. And a good analogy is that email, kind of like email in the late 1990s. It's like early on, some businesses were using it, some were not. But within a short period of time, it became obvious that email wasn't optional for businesses. And AI kind of feels similar to me and to Macatawa Technologies as a whole, but just faster. And the question isn't whether businesses will use AI, it's kind of the question of whether they will use it intentionally and well. So with that in mind, let's kind of define what AI actually is. So what is AI? When people hear the phrase artificial intelligence, it can sound bigger, stranger than it really is. At its core, AI is just software that can learn from data, recognize patterns, and make decisions or suggestions based on those patterns. That's really the heart of it. It's not a robot, it's not alive, it's not conscious, and it's not sitting here thinking the way a human being thinks. In reality, it's just math running at a very fast rate on very large amounts of information. One of the most helpful ways to think about AI is it's like a very capable assistant that never sleeps. It can process huge amounts of information very quickly, but it also has no common sense of its own. And that last part is what really matters. AI can be incredibly useful, but it doesn't understand meaning the way a person does. It doesn't have judgment. wisdom, life experience, or emotional context. It's truly responding based on patterns and the information that it's taken before and the information that it's taking from you currently. And that's why AI is best understood truly as a tool. Like any tool, the value depends on how you use it. If you use it well, it can help save you time, consistency, and help your team move faster as a whole. But if we use it poorly, it can create confusion, bad output, and even risk. And you're probably already interacting with AI in your everyday life, even if you don't think of it that way. Some cool examples that I think about when I think about just the beginner parts of AI is like when Netflix recommends us a show and we end up loving it based on our thumbs up, that's AI. When your phone predicts the next word in your text, it's also AI. And when your inbox filters out your junk mail, which we all need, that's also AI. So it's already around us. What's really changing is that businesses are now beginning to use it more intentionally. So before we go deeper, I want to clarify something else because this helps set the right expectations for this conversation. What AI is and what it is not. When people talk about AI, there is often this temptation to think of it as one giant thing, but it helps separate what it is from and what it is not. First, let's talk about what it is. Kind of like what we talked about earlier, but as a whole, it's math. It's a tool. And in certain forms, it learns. And that's the practical view. Now, let's talk about what it isn't. It's not always right. In fact, I mean, one of the most important things I can tell you today is that AI can be confidently wrong. It may give you an answer that sounds polished, certain, complete, and that answer may still be partially wrong or completely made up. Fun fact, I mean, like that's what people talk about when they talk about hallucinations with AI. I know it's probably a term we're all hearing nowadays. And so when we think about it, a hallucination is when an AI tool generates something false, but it presents it as true. That could be a fake fact, a fake source, even, maybe a wrong summary, or a completely incorrect conclusion. That is one of the biggest reasons that we still need human oversight for AI. And for second, AI is not just one product. It's not a category of technology. There's different levels. There's different uses, different tools, and different types of risk. And then another one too to touch on is like it's not plug and play. A lot of people assume AI means that you just turn something on and suddenly the business runs itself better. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Good AI use, it still depends on human direction, clean inputs, clear expectations, and some kind of review process. So the mindset I would want you to take away today is this. AI is useful, but it's not magical. It's powerful, but it's not self-managing. It's valuable, but only when guided well. So if isn't one thing, what are the different categories? What are the different ways that we can break it up? That's going to bring me to my next part of the conversation. So we'll talk about the AI evolution. I think this is a good way to break it down so that we can all kind of get on the same page in understanding just what AI is and what it could be and what it was. So let's think about this next section on my PowerPoint kind of like a ladder. There's 4 broad levels that we're going to talk about today. The first one is going to be automation. Second is machine learning. Third is going to be generative AI. And then level 4 is going to be agentic AI. Each level builds on the one before it. As you move up the ladder, the capabilities get more advanced. But as the capabilities go up, the complexity also goes up. The need for oversight goes up. And more importantly, the need for guardrails goes up. So when someone says we need to use AI, the first question should really be, what kind of AI are we talking about? There's so many that we think of nowadays. There's so many different names that we can think of. I'm sure when we just, kind of think about what AI we've heard of recently. But it's like, are we talking about something that's rules-based, or are we just talking about something that follows a workflow? What about something that is a software in itself, or something that learns from our data? Are we talking about tools that create content, or are we talking about systems that can actually take action across multiple steps, maybe even multiple platforms? They're not all the same thing. And I'm going to take the next 4 slides one by one so we can make it simple and break each of these down. Let's start with the bottom rung of the ladder, automation. So automation is the most basic and honestly one of the most useful forms of AI adjacent technology within business. It's rules based. So it follows the instructions you set. In plain English, honestly, the best way I like to think about it is if this, then that. So if someone fills out a contact form on your website, send an automatic reply. If an invoice comes in, route it to the right person. If a form is submitted, create a task. I think you guys are kind of getting the theme here, when it comes to all these different ways that we can see automation work. I mean, sometimes we even use it personally. I have it where it's like, hey, if I enter the home and connect to my Wi-Fi, my smart lights will turn on. Different things like that. We see it even within our home. So that's what automation is. There's not really any learning happening here. It's not adapting. It's not reasoning. It's not creating. It's just following rules that we put in place. And I think the important thing to realize is that most businesses are already using automation in some form today. A lot of these systems that you rely on have basic automation already built in. So it's kind of like when we set up a rule in our Outlook and it says, hey, anything that has something from a spam email provider, automatically put it in the trash. It's like, if this, then that. Automation isn't flashy, but it's where some of the quickest wins become because it removes repetitive manual steps. If you find yourself saying that we do the same process every time, that's usually a sign that automation can help you. Now, automation works really well with a task that's repeatable and, more importantly, predictable. But what about situations where the system needs to get better over time based on what it sees? That's where our next ladder point comes in, and that's going to be machine learning. So machine learning is really interesting because its software starts learning from data instead of just following our if this then that rules. So this is the foundational point of AI, that it will look at a large amount of historical information, find those patterns, and improve its output over time without someone manually rewriting the rules every time. A really good example of that is like Microsoft's spam filter. So their spam filter doesn't really rely just on a fixed list of banned words or simple rules. It's learned from millions and millions of emails. It identifies those patterns that tend to show up in spam, phishing, scams, and junk mail. And over time, it gets better at recognizing those patterns. So that's why you can often catch spam that you've never even seen before. So you're like, wow, how did these all get in here? Usually that's because of that machine learning filter that's built into a spam filter that Microsoft uses. So like other examples are like fraud detection, recommendation engines, kind of like that Netflix one we talked about, forecasting and product suggestions too. If Amazon recommends something that feels weirdly accurate, that's usually machine learning. So if a bank like flags a suspicious transaction, that's often machine learning because it understands your current data set and then it realizes that something is kind of out and amiss. So that's usually when you can see that type of prompt being used, so to speak. And so this is the kind of AI that's really been in the background for years. I mean, you guys are like, we've had this for a long time before this. So that's our biggest point here, where AI didn't begin with ChatGPT. It's most of us were already using AI-enabled systems long before we started talking to them in a chat window. Machine learning has been quietly powering a large amount of business software for quite a bit. But for most businesses, it stayed behind the scenes. The next level is the one that made AI visible to everyone. It's the one that changed public awareness in a very big way. And that's our next step, generative AI. So, generative AI. I'm sure we're seeing a lot of logos here that we're familiar with. Generative AI is the category that most people know, and the one that we're talking about the most right now. It's the AI that creates new content. And this content can truly cover everything. I mean, design images, code, text, audio. We're even seeing the video stuff now, and the best part is, I mean, like maybe even summaries from a meeting. I know you guys have probably joined a Teams meeting and you see there's like an AI there that's taking on that and recording that information to make a summary for you. So this is kind of the world of ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, and similar tools. And that's what makes this category so impactful, is that it turned AI into something kind of conversational, at this point. And that's where we can have that true person to person interface, so to speak, person to AI interface. And so before late like 2022, most AI was either invisible to everyday users or it was just hidden inside software. So where we had that change is with generative AI. Suddenly, normal business users could sit down and type a question in plain English and get back a draft, a summary, a table, a list of ideas, or like working first pass at something. That's a huge shift. Now, one thing to understand is that generative AI is not just copying and pasting from a database. It's not doing the if this, then that. It's generating a whole new output based on the patterns it learned during training. That's why it can sound so natural, and that's also why it can be so flexible. It can do anything from drafting emails, summarizing meetings, brainstorming marketing ideas, rewriting an email. It can help build formulas. From there, it can even explain like complex topics in simpler terms. If you were to say, hey, explain generative AI, from a 5-year-old perspective to a professor perspective, you might get a whole spectrum of different answers from it. And it's all generating it right from there. And that's why this category is I would say most important and what's most focused on by businesses right now, because it's so accessible, it's fast, and it feels immediately useful. But this isn't the end of the story yet. We're seeing another level develop really quickly, and it's the one I want every business leader to at least be aware of. And that's going to be agentic AI. So agentic AI is where things start moving from just answering questions to taking action. So the level up from the initial chatbot that we're used to seeing. With generative AI, I mean, we give it a prompt and it gives you an output. But with agentic AI, you give it a goal and it starts working through the steps needed to accomplish that goal. That's a meaningful difference. Think of it as the difference between an assistant and a junior employee following a playbook. If I say to generative AI, draft me a comparison of 3 vendors, it gives me content. If I say to an agentic system, find 3 vendors, it'll compare the pricing, summarize the trade-offs, create a meeting draft for next Tuesday, remind me to review it, and now that's not just generating content. That's executing a workflow. This is where we're seeing the industry heading. It feels early, but it's evolving very fast, kind of like that snowball I talked about before with adoption. And this is where people's instincts about risk get very reasonable very quickly. Because now AI's not just giving you an output, it's taking actions. It's not just making suggestions. That changes the stakes for us quite a bit. So now we have to think about permissions. We have to think about data access, quality control, And more importantly, we have to think about security and who's accountable for that outcome. So I do want this on your radar, but I also want to say this clearly. This level requires stronger guardrails. That's why security matters so much. And that's also why in our next webinar, the series is going to be focused specifically on AI security and risk. I'm excited for that one. I hope you both are too. And so those are the 4 levels. We can even kind of break down this image that we have here for the AI agent. Where we can see it coming in is we're going to have kind of the input on the left side, where we'll have incoming email, website form submission, customer chat messages. So all of that information goes into the AI agent. And we can give it the task of analyzing, tagging, routing, and it will then take action and create a CRM record, a email auto reply, or a message push to Teams. So that can give you kind of a little highlight of what agentic AI looks like. But I want to go back and kind of bring this back to practical day-to-day business reality. What tools are people already using? So these are some AI tools you probably already have. One of the biggest surprises for many businesses is realizing that they already have AI tools available right now. Not next year, not after a major software purchase, but right now. If your business uses Microsoft 365, you may already have AI capabilities through Copilot, depending on your licensing and rollout. If you use Google Workspace, there may be AI features available through Google Gemini. Your CRM may have AI already built in. We're seeing that a lot. I mean, it can be, again, Salesforce, Monday, HubSpot, all have different AI routes that they use. I mean, hey, even your accounting platform is probably pushing out some new AI features. So from there, you're seeing it from email marketing. I mean, honestly, I'm sure you guys are seeing it now, but when I do a Google search, I'm seeing that AI summary before I even get a link, which is what all of our original search engines were, right? So this matters a lot because companies think adopting AI means going out and buying some new complicated platform. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it means looking at the tools you already own and asking, what are we not utilizing? I like to say this is a little bit like paying for a gym membership and never going. You may be paying for capabilities that could save your team time, but nobody's explored it yet. This is often one of the best places to start because the learning curve can be lower, the integration's easier, and the controls may align better with the environment that you're using. So before you go chasing every new AI app on the internet, it's worth checking what's already inside your existing stack. Now, beyond the built-in features, there are a lot of standalone tools people are using every day. Let's take a peek at some of those. So for popular AI tools, we built up a little breakdown here for you. There's a few categories of popular AI tools that show up over and over again in business use. The first are chat-based. Tools like ChatGPT and Claude to that degree. These are useful for like writing, summarizing, brainstorming, all of these different, like maybe even first drafts, so that's another one that's helpful. Another category can be transcription and meeting summary tools. So those are ones like Otter AI and Firefly. This is truly one of my favorite practical use cases because the benefit is so immediate. You turn on the tool for a meeting, it records the discussion, it transcribes it, and shortly after the call ends, you have a summary, key points, and action items. I don't know about you, but that means fewer people like me scrambling to take notes. It means better follow-up. It means that everyone can align around the same recap, which I think is huge. And so another category as well is like creative tools. That's where tools like Canva AI, Adobe Firefly, Midjourney is another big one. And so these ones can help with like stock image use. marketing drafts, graphics, variations of different copy, and simple creative tasks. There are some others that we're seeing too, like customer service chatbots and support automation. That's one that we're seeing, kind of get out of the gates at this point. So that's where we can see things like where that support would answer routine questions, guide users through simple steps, and reduce some of the basic support load. And then there's tools that are focused on data analysis, reporting assistance, helping users turn raw information into summaries, trends, and being able to see insights more quickly. Now, quick note here, not every tool is equally mature, and not every tool is equally appropriate for every business. So the goal isn't to use AI everywhere. The goal is to identify where it can meaningfully reduce friction. So with that in mind, let's move from tools to real examples. So this one would be for a professional services firm. Let's take a peek at it and think about where the business is and where the quality of work matters a lot. That's where staff could be spending 8 hours a week writing proposals and reports. That's probably one of the biggest points of professional services. Making recommendations, client-facing summaries, project documentation, kind of meeting transcripts and summaries. And so in many of those organizations, a surprising amount of their time gets eaten up by drafting work from scratch. Not because people are bad at it, and not because the work is unnecessary, but because writing polished professional first drafts take time. So imagine a firm where staff members are spending a full day each week producing proposals and reports. Now imagine that same firm begins using AI to generate first drafts based on existing templates, past winning proposals, and a few key prompts. That doesn't mean that AI sends the final product. It doesn't mean the team steps away either. It just means the blank page problem's gone. Instead of starting from zero, the team starts from a decent draft. That completely changes the workflow. People spend less time on the mechanical part of writing and more time improving, tailoring, validating, and further refining. And that's where AI can become valuable for this firm. It doesn't replace the expertise, but it reduces the friction around expressing the expertise. And that's a key theme that you're going to hear throughout my presentation today. AI is most helpful when it handles the first 60 to 80% of the legwork, and a human handles the final judgment and polish. So another example, one that we wouldn't think about a whole lot, but trades and field services. Dispatchers juggling different schedules manually with constant back and forth. At that point, we can have a solution where AI scheduling could consider location, skill set, priority, and inventory, which would lead to faster response, which is huge when it comes to a field services team. And it's also fewer missed appointments. So that's something that I really like to see. We can have the ability for AI to learn and understand those habits. So this is where that machine learning comes in. It's understanding what your people are getting dispatched out for, what the locations are. And I don't know about you, it takes me a while to understand and to plan out the best route to go to 4 different places just with my Google Maps. So having an AI handle that for you, that's when it can help save so much man hours, workload, and also has a better end user experience. This is what I want to specifically highlight as leverage for these scenarios. It's allowing the same team to do better work more consistently in less time. That means faster response times. It could mean more capacity. And on a quality of life note, it can mean less burnout on repetitive work. It can mean less. I mean, honestly, it can mean more time spent with clients instead of staring and blinking, at a cursor on a blank page. So at that point, that's where we can see so many of these different applications for business. And from there, let's talk about a small business owner. Here's one quick business framework where we're seeing all different aspects and where we're seeing someone. I mean, this is where MacTech comes in and helps a lot. We're seeing an owner that's wearing too many hats. They're drowning in admin tasks. I mean, that's where there's so many different ways that they could use and get that help for every part of that. I mean, let's talk about it. We have email, invoicing, meeting summaries, social content. That's a lot for someone to manage. I mean, like that could truly even be upwards of a 40-hour week. So when we see that email, someone could be able to get that first draft summary just like before. Maybe we could use generative AI to build that content as well. So when we're seeing that, I mean, that small business owner has 5 to 10 hours a week reclaimed. They can focus on growth rather than the day to day. I mean, something that I even just kind of want to take a pause and have everyone that's with me right now think about is first, what are the repetitive things that you do maybe once a day, twice a day, multiple times per week that you could reclaim by using something like AI, by using an AI tool? And furthermore, what would you do if you had an extra 5 to 10 hours a week and you weren't working on the, how would I say, day-to-day tasks or the small minute ones? That's a big thing that I even focus on when I think about account management and how AI can help me is trying to make sure that I can get in front of clients more. I miss everyone. I want to see everyone more, but if I'm spending a lot of my time in email or things that I could potentially use AI for, well, that gets me in front of the most important people, our clients. So these are a lot of examples that we're all trying to, I guess, kind of crack the case on. There's so many different applications. You'll see a lot of different types of AI used for this. So that's one of the big things that I also want us to think about is how we can help you and how AI can help make your quality of life better. The biggest thing is that you don't need a, you know, full internal AI team to start benefiting from the right use cases. You just need the right task, the right tool, and the right amount of oversight. So after seeing a few examples, let's zoom out and kind of identify the pattern. So, where AI can save time. We talked about it a little bit, but this slide is really about reinforcement. By now, I want you to be listening to these categories and thinking, my team does that. Or is that something I personally spend time on? Where AI tends to save time is in tasks that are repetitive, text heavy, information heavy, pattern based. That includes summarizing meetings, calls, and documents, or maybe even answering common questions, setting reminders. That's one of my ones that I use the most. Auto replies, and even workflow steps. It includes drafting written content and doing early stage research, even. Data entry, categorization, simple analysis. That's where you can have that human touch at the end. But again, we're talking about that 60 to 80% of the legwork that can save you so much time. The common thread in all of this is that AI handles that legwork and a person handles the judgment. I think that's the healthiest way to think about it. If you frame AI as a helper for repetitive effort, it becomes much easier to identify useful starting points. If you frame AI as something that should replace human wisdom, empathy, or accountability, now we're setting ourselves up for trouble. And that kind of leads naturally into the other side of the conversation. Where AI can create risk. I wouldn't be doing my job as an account manager or as a guide in this AI world that we're talking about now is if I only talked about the upside. AI can absolutely create value, but it also can create a hefty amount of risk. One of the biggest risks I see right now is not in malicious use, but it's in unstructured use. It's well-meaning employees using public tools without any guidance, no policy, process, and no shared understanding of what is okay to enter and what is not. That creates several categories of risk at once. It creates data risk because sensitive information may be entered into these tools and maybe you haven't approved it. Maybe the company hasn't approved it. It creates a big quality risk because the AI output might be accepted too quickly without review. That creates legal and compliance risk depending on the type of business and the data involved. It can create further inconsistency within the organization because every employee may be using different tools in different ways with different standards. The specific risk areas here include sensitive data being entered into public AI tools, AI content published without human review, over reliance on AI for decisions that require context or empathy, also having no company policy on what's appropriate and legal for compliance. And that's where you can have further compliance exposure. So that's why policy matters so much. The number one mistake is not always using AI, but sometimes it's using it casually without deciding the rules first. So kind of where we talked about it on these different examples in my PowerPoint, we're seeing a lot of these come up frequently, even just within clients that we've helped manage for as we're seeing as a whole. That's a big question that all small businesses, medium businesses, larger organizations are having is how do we even have policy for this? So that's exactly why our second webinar in the series is focused on AI security and risk. If today's session helps you understand the opportunity, that next session helps you approach it responsibly. So how do you actually decide what is a good fit for AI? I want you to be able to walk away today with a simple filter. So is this a good task for AI or not yet? My rule of thumb is this. If the task makes you think, I wish someone could just get this started for me, it's typically a good fit for AI. If it makes you think this requires deep judgment, empathy, experience, or accountability, then AI should play a support role at most. So ask yourself a few questions. Is it repetitive? Is it pattern-based or template-driven? Time-consuming but low judgment? First draft work? Or internal use lowers the stakes? That's where we can look at it. Or even like biggest one too is like, can we have human review at all times? If the answer is yes, across the board, that is a strong candidate. On the other hand, let's think about what isn't a great fit. An upset customer sends a nuanced billing issue and it's not looking for a robot, they want a person. I'm sure we all have that experience, maybe calling an ISP, right? They want a person who understands the situation and can make it right. A hiring decision should not be delegated to AI. Signing a contract shouldn't be delegated to AI. And filing taxes shouldn't be delegated to AI. So making a sensitive employee decision, that's also something that probably shouldn't be delegated by AI. It can absolutely help gather information, summarize notes, and maybe suggest a draft response, but it's still taking a support role. But the final call in like high context, high consequence, human sensitive situations needs to stay human. That's our line right now. AI is strong at starting work, organizing work, and accelerating work, but it is much weaker as a substitute for wisdom, empathy, and responsibility. So now we have our decision filter. So it's kind of our quick reference guide. This is where we can ask, hey, is this repetitive? Is it a recognizable pattern? Would a small mistake have a low impact? If those three can be yes, then hey, it's a strong candidate. Let's start with AI and let's make sure we're getting involved with those results. If we're saying no to some of these, like is the task repetitive? Is there a recognizable pattern? Would a small mistake have low impact? Then, hey, let's proceed with caution and make sure we're keeping someone involved for this scenario. I think this is a great, quick reference filter This can be one that, I mean, honestly, I have sticky noted on my desk because it's like, it keeps me, how would I say, it keeps it at the front of mind. Because when I start doing a task, I'm like, okay, this is a repetitive task. I do wish I had some help with this. I wish someone else was able to get involved and handle it. Great. Okay. Well, what's the next step? Is it recognizable? Is it something that's pretty easy to manage? Fantastic. Would a small mistake have a low impact? Yeah. Well, great. Then it's probably a good use case. So that's kind of what I use as a little bit of a benefit, is just those 3 questions, your AI mantra, to see if that would be beneficial. So that's kind of where I want to simplify the conversation for everyone, is that you don't need to solve AI for your entire organization all at once. You don't need a massive strategy document before you try a single use case. Start small. Pick one task, one annoying, repetitive, time-draining task, and try using AI to help with it. Observe the result, refine the approach, and then build from there. That is how most businesses actually begin. Not with a grand transformation, but with one useful experiment. So let's talk about key takeaways. If I were to boil down today into a few key takeaways, it would be these. First, AI is a tool. It's not magic. It's not a replacement for human judgment. It's a tool that can be very useful when applied in the right places. Second, many businesses are probably already paying for AI capabilities inside the tools you already own, and we're simply just not using them yet. Third, policy matters. Or I'm sorry, fourth, policy matters. That is where it is better to be intentional about it than to let it grow informally without any guardrails. Next one I would say from there would be starting small. You don't need to become an AI expert. You just need to identify a practical use case and approach it with common sense. From there, let's just make sure that we start small, pick one task that wastes our time, and see whether AI can help. I think it's a perfectly reasonable way to begin with. And if you take one idea from today, let it be this. AI is not something that is just happening to your business. It's something you get to choose how to use. And the earlier you begin making intentional choices, the better positioned it will be. So let's do a little bit of Q&A. We can take some time, see what we got. I know we might be having a couple that we're fielding right now. And then we can kind of touch base on those. If I can answer them, I happily will. If it's something I want to get back to you on, we can work that out and see how we'll handle that one from there. So do we have any on the docket so far?
We had one about creating an AI policy, which will be
Yeah.
covered in next week's session.
Fantastic. Okay. So cross your fingers, hold on with me until next session. We'll be able to address that. I think not only do we want to think about just the piece of paper being the AI policy, I think we want to make sure we're understanding the back end of that policy as well. So making sure that why we're setting these policies. Adam's going to do a great job with that. He is one of my favorite people to talk to about AI from a philosophy note, but also from a security note. So I would trust him with that one if you can just stay patient with me until next week. Any other potential questions? Don't be nervous, it's just me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For someone who is completely new to AI, what is the first step you would recommend they take in their business?
Let's bring it back to our key takeaways is start small. I would say get a piece of paper out and let's talk about what repetitive task you use. If it's predictable, then I would check and see if you have an AI feature within something you use already, or if you need to get a new one. That's kind of where Mac Tech can come in. That's where I can come in personally. If you have questions about like, hey, what do I even have for AI? I'm not super sure what to use. I would say honestly, and it's a great question, maybe our first step is taking inventory. Maybe before we even start having a task so far yet, I would say maybe inventory is the first thing we're going to want to check. What do we have? What's safe to use? what should I get? Those are a lot of questions we'd be more than happy to help with on the Mac Tech side. And if not, your next tech provider, at that point, if you're not with us right now and you'd like to be, we'd be happy to reach out as well. I think we got another one here. And let me see if I can see them. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. Okay. Yeah, AI seems to be everywhere. If we haven't started using it yet, are we already behind? Is it too late to catch up? From the McKinsey statistics showing that 72% of businesses are already adopting some kind of AI. That doesn't tell us what level it is. That may just be someone using a light point of AI. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to catch up. I would say with the tools that we're going to give you over the next 3 webinars, this is going to give you kind of a springboard of where to start. And so I think that's where it can be pretty beneficial on that note, because once you complete all these, you'll know the risk, which from the MacTech side is our biggest point that we want to discuss, but also you know where to start too. So I know Tony's also going to be talking about how to implement it into your business a little bit more in depth. And I think that one is going to be the true springboard for it too. So absolutely. Yeah. Covering, we can use AI with sensitive data. Great question. That is something that Adam will cover during his second webinar. I think that's going to be a big highlight of that second webinar, is going to be talking about that sensitive data. I know I just touched on it today, but I think, yes, there's going to be a lot of good solutions for Adam covering on how to use it with sensitive data. There's a lot of different ways right now, but I think Adam's going to be able to cover one of the best ways that we recommend at this point. And hi, Abby. It's good to see you. All right. Yeah. So if we don't have any further questions, I just want to make sure that I'm kind of highlighting our next 2 upcoming webinars. Tuesday, April 21st at 11 a.m. That's going to be AI security and risk. So that's going to be talking about how businesses use AI without putting data at risk. So that's going to be highlighting Abby's question and Chris's for talking about policies or guidelines. So then from there, that following week, we're going to have Tuesday, April 28th, and that's going to be Tony with AI implementation. That's how to introduce AI without disrupting your business. So I'm really excited for both of those. I'll be there for it. I know there's a lot I can still learn as well. So I want to make sure that I'm hearing from everyone. Those ones are going to be really interesting. These are also going to be recorded and posted to our YouTube page as well. So if you have anyone that maybe missed joining today or that wants to join, or maybe you want to share it, if you can do that, that would be something that would be very helpful for us too. But if you want to share it with someone that you might think would be benefiting from it, then that would be great too. Perfect. All right. And then from there, I hope you guys have a great day, okay?
Thank you so much, Cam. That was cool.
There we go.
We really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today. And a huge thank you for all of you for joining us and sticking with us through the session. We hope you're walking away feeling inspired and ready to put some of these ideas into action in your business. A couple of quick things. First, keep an eye on your email inbox. We'll be sending you this webinar recording as well as an extra resource to help you get started with AI journey. And second, session 2 is coming up and you won't want to miss it. As Cam said, we'll be diving into the AI data and security. So I'm dropping the link to that in the chat right now. Go ahead and register. It will also be on our social media, but you can reach out to us if you would like it. Thank you so much.